When church leaders encounter a scandal, the first instinct is to not talk about the sin, but to cover the institution. We're talking about that today on The Kingdom Order.
Are you ready to rise and shine? Unlock your purpose. It's your time. So stand tall. Embrace your calling. Give it your all. Conversations that lift and inspire. Leadership, faith, and gifts from above. Walking in truth, in power and love. Teach, man, teach. We rise as one. Walk with authority. It's just begun.
Good evening and welcome back to the Kingdom Order. I'm Dr. Deweylla.
And I'm Dr. Kevin.
And tonight we are back with our How Did We Get Here series. And we're talking about covering a scandal versus calling out sin. This is something that is very prevalent in Christian faith circles. It don't even really have to be Christian in a lot of faith circles. But it's very popular to basically cover up scandals rather than just calling out sin and just going straight up for the jugular, I guess you would say, and just admitting the things that are going on. We
Right.
see this so often, whether it's a financial scandal or it is a scandal with
Sexual
sex-related
immorality,
things like that. At the end of the day, I think the issue is that people put these ministers and leaders and preachers up on a high pedestal.
Yep.
And they can't humanize them.
That's good. I like how you put that.
Yeah.
That's literally what it is. They put them up on a high pedestal, and that's it right there.
So there's two examples that we have for you tonight that we're going to discuss.
Okay.
And one of them being the news that happened with Pope Leo and clergy abuse.
Oh, yeah, that's big.
So, for years we've heard, whispers about things that go on within the Catholic Church with these popes, with these
priests and bishops.
Doing things that they should not be doing with children and other things. But recently, Pope Leo told the Vatican Doctrine Office, this actually came out on January 29th, 2026. He told them to uphold truth, justice, and charity when processing clergy sex abuse cases. His speech focused mostly on doctrine. Abuse was only briefly addressed. So for me, it's like they don't want to make it like they actually did anything wrong.
Right.
So they steer away from even using language about whatever it was that happened.
So in other words, it's the same old thing. Just cover it up, push it under the rug.
Basically. The Doctrine Office policies Catholic teaching and also policies.
Yeah,
The Doctrine Office polices Catholic teaching and also processes abuse cases. They hold a dual role that can obscure accountability. The response was diplomatic, not confrontational, focusing on process more than culpability. And so we see this again in churches nationwide all over, where they have a statement. I know it's probably because they have like a publicist or somebody who like tells them like this is the statement that you should make. But it's still, for me as a leader and a teacher, it still looks bad on their part because I feel like when they do these things publicly, I feel like their same response happens privately, meaning that they never admit that these things are happening. So if you don't even admit these things are happening, when and where does the repentance happen?
Right, because most of the time they don't admit it, but then they don't remove the offender from their office either. And they end up staying there. Then you end up having kids that grow up to become adults that are damaged beyond, whatever reason you want to say, but they're deeply scarred and traumatized by their encounter. And they still see this person up here acting like nothing ever happened. And that's a problem. But, nowadays, we're in a different society now where back then it wasn't never really talked about or dealt with. Now, with the formation of the Me Too movement and everything else coming like that, you have a lot of people who are victims that are coming forward about a lot of things
Yeah.
and stuff. And so now it's at a point now you can't just whisk it on by like nothing happened. It's up because it just shows you that you have celebrities that have been doing this stuff. You've had, gatekeepers who have been doing this stuff. The church has been right there alongside them every way because they've been doing it too. And it's like, will you understand the deep darkness of it? And that's literally what it is. It's deep, dark wickedness. It makes a lot of sense why you see this stuff happening within the Catholic Church, for example.
Right.
Because they have that history of that deep darkness. And it's like it literally built on the occult is really what it is.
Well,
So,
we're starting to find out too that it's not just in the Catholic Church. We're
Right.
starting to find out that it's in a lot of Protestant churches as well.
too. Yeah,
We saw many prominent. We live here in the state of Texas, and we saw many leaders
in 1 year.
who literally stepped down from their roles because of something nefarious that was going on, or
Mm-hmm.
actually got arrested, or got accused of something, indicted or something. Like, and it's all around sin.
Yeah.
It's sin.
It's
At
sin.
the end of the day, it's sin.
Man.
You put yourself, again, either you put yourself or other people put you on this high pedestal to where you're never supposed to do anything wrong.
Right.
And then when it comes out, it's kind of like, okay, what do I say to these things? You confess.
Right.
Just like you did. Why is it the only time that we confess is when we will confess? You confess the Lord Jesus to come into our heart. That's the only time people want to
Well, yeah,
confess
you do
anything.
that, but then you have the Catholic confessionals too, where they want to have you come and confess, but they don't confess. That to me is the most backwards thing. When I started hearing about these cases in the Catholic Church, I was like, how is that even like a thing? Because it's like you're quick to tell people you need to repent and confess, but yet who do you confess to?
That part. In the religion of Scientology, they have people who are called auditors, and they have to go and tell their sin or whatever thing they have in their life to an auditor. And this auditor basically condemns them into like getting more things out of them because they say, well, this is the reason why you don't have any joy in your life or you don't have any peace in your life, because there's something you're holding back. And the auditor's job is to get it out of you. It's the same
It's
thing
like
that
an
they do in the Catholic
interrogator.
Church.
Yeah, it's like an interrogator.
In Scientology, it is like an interrogation.
Yeah.
I read a story about a young lady who she was like in the top of people who do the auditing. And she said she was miserable. Her life was just completely miserable because that is all she was called to do. And then finally, she got to a point where it was weighing on her so much that she had to go see somebody who did like an audit on her. And it was just gruesome. It's like there's always something that they find. But these are other avenues that people take when they don't want to admit that there is one true Most High Yah. They don't want to admit that there is a law. There are things that we are supposed to abide by.
Yep.
And when we break these laws, we come out of covenant agreement with him. And yes, our life is miserable as a result. But instead of believing these things are spiritual and supernatural, they'll do things like Scientology, or they'll be in Catholicism where everything is very legalistic and you have to go to these priests to confess your things. But who's to say that these people are doing the up and up thing? Like they're doing the right things. But I believe that when the Pope responded, there were some people, I guess, that were offended for the victims of whomever has been involved in these scandals, because they don't really, he's not really apologizing, or he's not really addressing the victims. All he's saying is to tell the people to uphold the doctrine office, tell them to uphold the truth and justice and charity. Well, we already knew y'all had that in place. Obviously, it doesn't do anything. Why are you?
It ain't worked before. It ain't gonna work now. And so why you have to reiterate that? You know, it's the thing right there was like charity. Okay, so uphold love, because we look at 1 Corinthians 13 chapter for that, and it's like, but which love you talking about?
It's a skewed version.
It's a skewed version of it and stuff. And it's like, which one are you actually talking about? Because if I'm supposed to have who am I supposed to have compassion towards? Who am I supposed to uphold justice towards? Because it seems like in history, all y'all have done is protect your own. You didn't care about the parishioners. As long as they were paying their tithes and stuff and everything like that, that's all you really cared about. Paid your penance. Let me say, paid your penance.
And they care more about protecting the priest
in the office,
whomever is being the things are being alleged. I'm not saying that people don't lie, because some people will bring cases to say they were abused and they really weren't.
Right.
We know that there are people like that out there, but at the end of the day, you can't only be one-sided in saying, okay, we're trying to protect the clergy, because it's saying to uphold truth, justice, and charity when processing clergy sex abuse cases. In other words, he's saying that he doesn't want he wants them to uphold it because he doesn't want their names to be tarnished or tainted. But he says really nothing against the actual to comfort the abuse victim.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. It's like as if every pope that comes in has a certain policy that they go about doing this and stuff. And it's always interesting to me because when you go back and look at the political affiliations of most of these popes, but then their order of all skews some sort of way in dealing with this particular topic. You had the last one and then the one before him. They dealt with it very differently from Pope John Paul II and stuff. And it's like John Paul II let it go for a long time unaddressed and stuff. And then the one that the Pope that was after him, he dealt with it, but he was dealing with it from a very different way and stuff. And it was like, okay, now he's addressing it. People thought there was going to be an outcome, but it was still more the same thing and stuff until that one, until Francis came along. Francis did pretty much the same thing. He dealt with it very much differently from the rest, but it still led to the same outcome. It's like, you won't deal with it. Like, deal with it.
None of them want to deal with it. And then Pope Francis, I wouldn't have trusted him anyway because
he's a Jesuit.
He was a Jesuit Pope. So he's
first
a part
Jesuit
of the whole, order of whichever one of the orders, the Maltas.
The Maltas and the Rosicrucians.
It's one of them,
The Maltas and the Rosicrucians.
Yeah. One of them orders that he was a part of. So I wouldn't have trusted him anyway because he has other stuff that was attached to him. And then he was also the one that was bringing in all of that idol worship of ancient religions from other deities. Like he was bringing other deities in and stuff like that. There was somebody that they was worshiping, this figure of this woman that they brought in that they were worshiping, which was of another whole pagan religion.
Well,
and
is
they've
pagan
been doing all
but...
this interfaith stuff for a minute now, but I believe they do the interfaith stuff because they want to still be the rulers. And so if you let the Catholic Church head it up, then they feel like they're in control.
Right. And that's like what you're going to see in Revelation is the leader of the false prophet, I believe, is going to come from the Catholic Church and stuff at that point. And that's what's going to lead all the world religions into one thing and stuff. And then you're going to have a really big problem on your hands because now you got all these other religions that have their own paganistic ways of doing things. But then you're having this one issue right here. Yeah. I could see this issue being something that'll be allowed very greatly because it's in the occult. It's steamed in the occult. And so they hold on to a lot of occult practices and stuff. Christianity in general has a lot of occult practices that people don't tend to believe is occult, but it is and stuff. And so I believe that is how they're going to be able to muse and put all this stuff together is under the guise of occultism and occult practicing. And this type of abuse is going to be right at the center of it.
Absolutely. And I believe that it's like nothing for them to address it because of the fact that you already have so much idol worship within their churches, within their sanctuaries, within their walls, all the relics and the idolization of different figures in the Bible, the saints and Mary and all that stuff.
The veneration of the saints.
The veneration of all these saints. You're not even really worshiping the Most High.
Right.
You worship all of these other things. So I think that it's because they're so steeped in the religion itself, they can't see the effects of what these things are doing to the people. It's deep. It's minor for them. So I want to address another one that this is a really big one that a lot of people have come privy to, and that's Brian Carn's guilty plea.
Oh, man.
And these all happened in the month of January of 2026. So Pope Leo, in regards to the ex abuse cases, happened January 29th when he did this announcement. On January 15th of 2026. A pastor in Jacksonville, Florida, by the name of Brian Carn, who's known actually as a prophet. A well-known minister, pled guilty to obstructing the IRS for underreporting $1.4 million in income, causing a significant loss to the U.S. Treasury. Carn acknowledged responsibility for an accounting error. That's what he called it.
Yeah, that part right there. An
accounting error, yet did not publicly address serious allegations involving a female church member.
Yeah, that's the part that got me when I heard about this. I think I sent it to you. And I was like, this is crazy. Because we're both accountants. So we understand, how finance
what
works.
a real accountant is.
Yeah. Yeah. So we understand how finance works in a sense. It's like, so you, because I was like, because some people was like saying, oh, he got convicted of a tax evasion. No, that's not what he got convicted of. He got convicted with obstruction. That means he falsified, changed, and underreported documents to hide nearly $1.4 million. That's a lot of money they're trying to hide and stuff. And so, but how black people are, we like to flaunt with our stuff and everything. And you can't account for this and try to hide money, move money, and try to account for it. So the fact that he pled guilty to it still to me is a major thing, because it's not tax evasion. Yeah, but it's deception still. You're still practicing deception while you're trying to be prophetic in your teaching.
That whole part.
Come on now. You can't.
Because they have to have some ecclesiastical kind of answer whenever they're, again, at the end of the day, because these people are so big in ministry, they have people that tell them different things. They need to write statements for them or tell them, like, this is what you need to say. My problem with Brian Carn is it's been alleged for years that he's been involved with female members of his ministry. And one allegation that came right before this, he never really addressed it,
at all.
or when you address it, you kind of address it like he didn't do anything wrong. It's just people that are haters, or they like to use that old thing about, I must be
doing something right.
I must be a prophet. I must be doing something right because the warfare. They'll try to use those kind of things instead of just acknowledging that they're probably failing in the area of lust. At the end of the day, all of this stuff always comes back to sin.
It does.
You are not a superhuman. You are still going to have, you got hormones in your body.
Right.
And as long as you got hormones, you're probably going to feel some type of way sometimes when certain females come around. You might smell their perfume. Like, come on. Like, let's just admit, but you're never going to admit that because you're a pastor. And you don't want people feeling some type of way.
Yeah, it is. And the thing that got me was like his response to everything when he was asked about it. He said, I know how to handle that stuff in the spirit. That's
when he was asking about the consequences.
The consequences of it, yeah.
Now, you know who he said that to?
Who?
He said that to Larry Reed.
Oh, you got to be kidding.
Yeah, that's who. I didn't put this on the thing, but in our little report here. But yeah, Larry Reed was interviewing him, and that's when he made that comment.
I know how to handle this stuff in the spirit. Clearly, you don't, because the spirit would have told you, don't you deceive them people, because they gonna find out and stuff. It's crazy. But yeah, and to me, that response right there is where he sidestepped legal and moral accountability. And that's always an issue for me, for when a pastor will sidestep. He want to hold everybody else accountable, but when it comes to him, nobody can hold him accountable. And that, to me, that's a problem.
Right.
It's
when
like,
you sidestepping, how you sidestepping though?
Slide to the left.
Step into the bad side.
No. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
I had to go there with it, y'all.
Yeah, you did.
Step into the bad side. Like, literally, because you sitting up there, well, I know how to handle that stuff in the spirit. I can just see him saying that. I know how to handle that stuff in the spirit. But you're not handling anything because year after year, there's some kind of scandal with your name in it.
It sure is. You over here prophesying Super Bowl games and stuff, and they gonna win.
I forgot about that.
And he's in Jacksonville, and that was when Jacksonville was in Super. It's like, you did that, and it's like, dude, why would you do that? It's like, really? Like, you lose a lot of credibility doing that kind of stuff. It's like,
not even credibility. Well, obviously not enough credibility, because he still has a lot of members.
He
go
does,
to church,
but
a lot of people who still believe in his prophetic
some
words.
people can be deceived, though. Some people can be because I think about it, I've always said this. It's easy for people to be prophetic junkies. They're almost as bad as a drug addict.
You
right?
always gonna have some chasers.
You always gonna have some chasers,
and you always gonna have some pushers.
There you go. As long as there's a need, there needs to be provided. The pushers always gonna be there and stuff. So that's what we see a lot in the prophetic ministry. I mean, we used to go to these conferences back in the day. When you had one last week, I seen you in one conference like 3 weeks in a row. You done been to every conference I done been to. There's a problem. I'm working, of course, but you attended. I'm like, there's a problem. And it's like, the words you got the last week, the same words you got the week before. It's like, dude, ain't nothing different. Table. Just take the word and go forth and do what you have to do. But you just gotta and then when you feel like you need a prophetic word, you get down and depressed in depression because but you can't see in the spirit that the word that person been given to you was wrong.
Yeah.
It's causing you to get off the path the Father has for you,
My Lord.
because you have this desire to be filled by a prophetic word, but then you don't want to do the work to make it come to pass.
And unfortunately, ladies, it's mostly us.
Yeah, it's a lot of women.
The women that go
What
that are
the
hungry
scripture say?
for this prophetic. That's prophetic junkies. Basically.
What's the scripture say? The silly women caught unaware.
Yeah, it's mostly women. And that's also how I feel like they get into these situations with people like Brian Carn and others like Prophet Lovey. Lovey and people like that, where they're being seduced by the person because there's so much chasing after them, not realizing that they're giving you these sweet words and all this kind of stuff because really they are trying to entertain you in a different way.
Yeah, there's a lot of women in the church that are led by emotions versus their prophetic insight into see what's going on and stuff. It's like,
I feel sorry for those that are babes though, because a lot of the ones that I saw that were getting caught up by Prophet Lovey, they were younger women.
They know what they're doing.
That don't know a lot about. They don't really know a lot about church. Like they're babes.
Yeah, they're trying to. They want to get to understand it more, and they go to the pastor. The pastor's like, "Oh yeah, they're one of my followers and stuff." But then his own desires get ahead of him, and next thing you know, one thing leads to another and stuff, and now this person is twisted and broken and stuff, and you keep doing this pattern over and over again. And nobody ever calls it out. Yeah. To me, is an issue because now you're not just dealing with people's spiritual souls. You're dealing with something that's very twisted and sinful.
Yeah, they know the weak spots. They know how to manipulate. They can tell when the person is hungry for it and wants and is gullible.
Oh yeah,
to believe different things.
Yeah.
And man, that's a bad place to be. It's a bad place to be because you essentially carry the power and you're the person that's in control because you do have a lot of knowledge of the Bible. Mm-hmm. You've been doing this for a while. You see the emotions of the people. And so when you have somebody coming in and you're speaking to their issue, that's a horrible thing to take advantage of that moment because they really genuinely thought that the Father was speaking through you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I felt victim to it sometimes too, and it's
here.
It doesn't feel good. First of all, it doesn't feel good, especially when you find out you've been manipulated.
Yeah,
and it's like, man, okay, telling me the Father God said I need to do this, I need to do that. I'm doing everything I need to do to put myself in a position to actually get this, but yet the whole time I'm being manipulated to go to this place when really I should have been over here.
Right.
Which is where the Father told me to be a couple of years ago. But I'm over here because I'm listening to your prophetic words and stuff. Right. And it's like a lot of times the Holy Spirit will speak to you and tell you what you need to do. You don't need a prophet.
Yeah.
I think what this whole prophetic ministry movement the past 2 decades has really caused is a bunch of unintelligent people who are constantly seeking a prophetic word for gratification.
Oh my
and
goodness.
It's in a point now it's like really worse. It's like go back to the days when we had Periscope. Everybody was a prophet.
Everybody, and okay, I can speak to that too because in the dance community, every dancer was a prophetess.
Yeah.
Like every time I look up and got another flyer with somebody who's a prophetess, and I'm
prophetess, ain't been affirmed, ain't been verified at anything and stuff. And most people who are true prophets don't really seek to be verified at all. They just say the word, drop it, and leave it. They don't go back. They ain't looking for it.
They ain't looking for the blue check mark.
No, I ain't looking for no blue check mark. Check what I say. If you don't like it, I mean, because I've done it. I mean, I struggled with that for many years. I struggled with it till I finally got to this place of accepting it, and I was like, okay, this is what it is. I'm different from most people, but I'm not going to go out here and just start saying things just to be saying things to remain relevant either, because I understood the weight of my words and stuff. If I prophesied over somebody, I had to know without a shadow of a doubt that's what the Holy Spirit was saying.
Absolutely.
I couldn't just go out there and say, because you look this way and I understand you single, I'm prophesying a husband for you and stuff. And the whole time I'm prophesying, you looking at me like I'm your husband. I was not about to put myself in them situations.
My Lord.
But a lot of people like Brian Carn have.
Yep.
And you create other scandals now because you're talking about, well, you was dating this person. Well, you was in videos with this person. Who are you with and stuff? And it's like,
I think it's a dangerous person for a male pastor to be single.
Oh yeah, that's why I said I never wanted to pastor as single. As a single, even though I was ordained as a pastor single, I never wanted to pastor church being single. Yeah. It's a very dangerous thing for men and women. Mm-hmm. Both sides is a dangerous thing to do and stuff. And we don't recognize the dangers that we see with that because we do have to deal with sin, lust, and all these other things.
Yep.
They're still human.
Yep.
So there's these things that we deal with that people just don't want to look at that, yeah, you're not super.
Right. The key observation here that I see is even when guilt is admitted, the language used, it avoids confronting moral sin directly. They'll use a language like they didn't really sin or whatever, or
my accountant misreported my numbers.
Like, an accounting error. No, it wasn't no accounting error.
1.4 billion.
You didn't want the IRS.
That's a couple of zeros in the wrong place. To me, I mean,
that accounting error is a few dollars off.
Yeah,
we 1.4
maybe
million
$1,000, maybe $1,000, maybe 2,000.
Absolutely.
10 is you're pushing it, but it's that right there. No, there's something major with that.
But you're the same person who's prophesying these witty ideas and inventions, and people to be giving and sowing their seed and sowing money, and the money coming to me now kind of preacher. That
1066 prophecy. Wow.
Yeah, you're getting all of this stuff. You're getting all of this income coming in because you're prophesying all this stuff, but then you don't want to report it. Like, you want to be rich, but you don't want to do the right thing once you get rich. Because what they always say, more money, more problems.
Yeah, that's a real thing. But I don't know. It's to me, it's really bad when you're that deceptive about something, and then you keep having people come and giving major money and major offerings at your church, and the whole time. Now I wonder how some of them people at that church think. That you done did this, and it's like, I don't know. It reminds me of something what happened here in Austin several years ago. There was a church here that was starting a low income housing project, and they had this land that they had acquired to build these low income housing, and there was a problem with it because somebody was embezzling money out of the account. Now, the leader of this association was over this project. It was his secretary and one of his members that were actually embezzling the money. Well, when it came found out, them two went to jail. Nothing happened to the one who came up with the project and the plan and the president of the association. He literally, now he did receive probation. Okay, he received probation and a fine to pay for this, and he didn't really know these people were stealing money out of the account. Well, who was watching the records and stuff? First of all, to be able to embezzle money like that out of this, it was several $100,000 and stuff that they were embezzling. They went to jail. He got probation, never went a day in jail. Why? Probably because he was a pastor or stuff like that. And I'm I can't remember all that he said as a result of that type of sentencing he got. But do you realize that's the major thing that got me, and I knew this was an issue, was when the association came together to pay for his fee he had to pay for his probation.
Oh, wow.
Like, none of that came out of his pocket.
Oh, wow.
The association paid that fine for him. And it was a hefty fine. It was a couple $100,000 fine.
So when you get down to it, again, that goes back to you basically covering a scandal versus confronting sin. You want to protect the institution, or you want to protect your investment, basically.
And I always had an issue with it. And I remember the church I was attending at the time, I remember talking about it to some of the deacons and stuff there, and I had an issue with it because we was a part of that association. And I was like, I have a big issue with this. It's like, so you do this happens, but they all pitch in and pay for your fine. Did you ever learn your mistake?
Probably not.
You need to have a proper accountant. You're dealing with a nonprofit. There's all these checks and balances in dealing with nonprofits that have to go financial wise to make sure you're in good standings. You bypass all those preventive measures to keep that from happening. So it means you're just as guilty by leaving the door open instead of locking the gate.
Come on.
I think James Cleveland said it best. Who in the hell let the gate open?
Right.
It's like that. And it's like, but you pay this man's fine. And I said, that's bad. And this is long before I ever knew I was prophetic. Because I said, this was going to damage the association for decades. And it has. Because some of that money they were supposed to use was supposed to rebuild the tabernacle. They never did it. The tabernacle burned down 2 years ago.
Wow.
And it's like, are they going to do anything about it now? No, they have not even rebuilt the tabernacle since the fire. Because you're not dealing with the Father's property right and stuff.
Come on.
He entrusted this stuff to you and you let it fall by the wayside.
Exactly.
I think when we first got married, there was a break-in. I showed you the video where somebody was breaking 666 and stuff. And they basically broke the grand piano and all the stuff that was in there because they only go to this place one time a year.
Right.
And it was like all that was messed up. And I'm like, that was a big scandal in Austin because now churches were very hesitant about giving construction loans because it showed that we didn't really take care of our property well. Okay. And then right around that same time, you had a pastor that had all his church members get mortgages on their homes and sell their homes because he wanted to build a church in Alvin, Texas. Let the church go in foreclosure, built another church down there in Houston, and everybody moved. And now it messed up the whole community of people who had building projects because now banks don't trust the churches. Like, we give you this money. What makes me think that you're going to actually build this? You could take the money and run.
Right.
Like with this guy. So, yeah, there's these measures of accountability that people as church leaders aren't really adhering to. Can you really trust that?
Yeah. It reminds me of a story in the Bible, too, when you talked about them going to that tabernacle place. They only went once a year. That was like a customary thing, too, that they did sometimes in Scripture where they would go up to a high place or go somewhere. So Eli, I want to talk about the biblical contrast and direct confrontation of sin we see in 1 Samuel 2 with Eli's failure. And Eli, the Scripture reads, "Why do you kick at my sacrifice and offering? Because Yahuwah appointed a prophet for you." And Yahuwah actually rebuked Eli for allowing his son's immoral behavior to continue to go unchecked.
Man, listen. I got so many stories in church in my life of where I've watched the pastor's sons and daughters do things that were like, always the saying is the PKs. It was the PKs and DKs. That's not why I'm DK. But the PKs and the DKs were the worst kids in the church, right? Nothing ever happened to them. They let them go do whatever they want to do without consequences being unchecked, without consequences being checked. And I remember reading this story in 1 Samuel, and I was like, oh, what happened to the sons?
Do I guess the DKs are what, deacons' kids?
Yeah, deacons' kids. Deacons' kids and pastors' kids and stuff. But yeah, it's like when Eli's sons were killed, that was the consequences. And Eli fell out the chair and broke his neck. It's like there's the consequences for your actions. So you can go let this stuff skate by as long as you, but there's always that consequence for you not doing what you're supposed to do.
Absolutely. And I'll even take it a step further to the people who have spiritual sons and spiritual daughters that you claim. And then once a scandal or something arises with them, you don't see that open rebuke or you don't see that correction that happens. You kind of do see like this public display of covering for them. Yeah,
major.
Now, especially when you're part of like one of those big networks.
Yeah, big networks. And I know are some that pastors out there that do that. They might do it in private.
Yeah.
But that's few and far between, considering this. A lot of people tend to just back away altogether. Hands off, I ain't saying nothing about it. Distance themselves as far away from it as possible they can. Especially if it has to deal with something where it's a sex abuse or a divorce or infidelity or something like that with one of their close-knit leaders and stuff like that. They try to distance themselves as much as possible so that they're insulated
so they can protect their own industry and their own business and institute. Exactly.
And it's wild.
What's funny, I'm gonna just interject this here off the topic of in the religious sphere, but we were talking about that yesterday regarding P. Diddy and Jay-Z.
Yes.
It's like the minute P. Diddy went to jail, you never heard Jay-Z say anything. He never publicly came out and said anything about him, good or bad or indifferent.
Right. But
like that's gotta tell you something.
Everybody know that you was together. Like y'all was together. Like video, we seen the magazines, we seen the videos, the TMZ videos. We seen all that stuff. Y'all in the same place and stuff. But as soon as one of them get caught, the other one's really quiet. That shows guilt.
Said anything.
To me, that shows guilt. That admits guilt. It was like you ain't got nothing to say. Like,
nothing. No public statement whatsoever.
But that's just like right now we're seeing a lot of the Epstein stuff coming out. People that seeing like I feel somewhat vindicated by this. I'm just for me because I was saying some of that stuff long before DK the Watchman on YouTube ever came out. Back in Periscope days, I was talking about this wickedness stuff that these people were doing because like the Father showed me this in several visions, all this wickedness going on, and the people that were involved in it. And people was like, "Oh, that's crazy. That's not right. That's not right." And now you look at the Epstein files. Their names are clearly sitting right there in the middle of it. It's like, wait a minute. But wait a minute. How It's been there. So yeah, there are some people that have been saying this from the mountaintops for years.
And Hollywood in general have been quiet regarding
Very
the
quiet.
P. Diddy incident, PD stuff. Like nobody was saying anything and hasn't said anything.
A lot of people have said that was also a thing where he overstepped his bounds in what he was supposed to do. Like that was a get in check boy moment.
Yeah, get in check. Yeah. Because we know he's going to get out in a couple of years, whatever,
check,
and they want to make sure.
And everybody else is kind of quiet because they don't want to be put in check either and stuff. So, but hey, more will be revealed.
And so when we look at that, we're talking about that from the world standpoint, but we can take it back into the church because that is exactly what happens when you have these big institutions who have other churches who are affiliated or under them or whatever. There's always going to be this thing about, okay, you can only go this far. You have to stay under it because this is your covering. And you have to stay in this order. And this is the thing I can't stand about covering is because first of all, where in the word does it say that we need a covering? Second of all, you can't cover the way that Yah can. So even if this person gets in a pickle, some kind of scandal or something like that, what are you really going to, what were you doing if you was there covering? First of all,
and you didn't see this in the spirit.
That's exactly where I was about to go. First of all, how you covering? How you praying? Because obviously it doesn't actually protect the person the way that you're saying a covering is supposed to do. Yeah. So that's why it's unbiblical. It's unfounded. Like how you could even put yourself in a position that only the Father is supposed to be in. Right. It's really bad. So again, when we see Eli's issue here with his sons, the takeaway that we get from that is that leadership that protects reputation over confronting sin brings judgment and loss of integrity. Yep. At the end of the day, the judgment is going to happen. You're going to see it come about, and we've seen it come about with leaders. Like what's his name? He died some years ago. Eddie Long. Oh yeah. Bishop Eddie Long and different people. Where all of a sudden, okay, now they have this illness and something happens. I don't doubt that this is the judgment of Yahuwah. I don't want to say that this is what's going to happen to these people. I'm not saying that I want to see the wrong done. I actually want to see people be free of the thing that they're claiming that they're not doing. Right. But wait a minute now. The word says, touch not thy anointed. Yeah. And well, do that prophet no harm. It is what it is. You have many people that claim to be anointed that are not anointed. Right. And they were not called. Right. They have put themselves in these places to become wealthy. That's their whole intent. And I'm talking about just the religious sphere. Yeah. So a lot of these people were not called to do what they're doing. They just saw an avenue to create wealth. Yeah. It's that what we're literally seeing is the end or the residual of the prosperity gospel that is like truly being exposed now. That they repackaged it with the into the prophetic ventures and stuff. Business ventures. Like you got 50 million. I was on someone's live stream last night on Facebook, and somebody asked a question, which course is this for? And he's like, I don't know which one you're talking about because I got like 75 courses. Now I haven't seen this person follow this person back in the day on Periscope days. This is how long it's been. And I came across this video. I was like, I ain't seen her in years. Like, where's she been at? She been working on creating all these courses, mastermind courses and stuff. I understand that you could create things that help build wealth, but sometimes you can go overboard. You can really go overboard with this. And I was like, 75 courses? You got 80 books? Where do you have time to write this many books? And that's how you get caught up in the other part of the prosperity gospel, which is the new age prosperity gospel, is doing these courses, these self-help things, these ventures. That's actually what Scientology is all about. It sure is. Scientology is a school that these people go to, and they go to these life enhancement courses, and you're always going through all these different courses. And so the thing about it is they have to find another clever way of asking people for their money. Yep. That's all it is. You can't just ask for the money now. You got to give them something when you ask for it. And it sucks because it's like the people out here that really want to make a difference, going back to what you said earlier about how can the banks trust you? Well, the same thing with the IRS. That's why they put more laws and stuff in place around getting the 501c3s and the nonprofits, because every other day somebody is building a nonprofit. But it's a nonprofit where they actually are getting where they're actually trying to get rich with the nonprofit. Oh, yeah. I mean, I have one of my big time clients that I've had for 15, 16 years and stuff. You've met them before. And
I've seen what this organization has, and I've told you, there's a lot of nonprofits I work with that some I can question, like, I don't know about you.
Is this real?
Is this real or what is this? Because it feel kind of scammy to me and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then I got my one friend that is like, I watched where he started at in the gym.
Right.
To now having a multi-million-dollar nonprofit that is making an impact. I mean, a deep impact. Places where the Father is truly blessing this organization to help these underprivileged children and adults, not just children, because in order to help the family, you have to help the parents too.
Yeah.
You can't just help the kids and expect the kids to be successful. The part of that system is the parents.
Absolutely.
Whether the father's not there or not, but you got to be able to help all of that system. And watching how they do this and go through these processes of acquiring grants and securing these things and watching the favor of Yah on them as they do this, it makes me see it a very different way now. It's like when I see somebody popping up with a nonprofit, my first question is, what kind of impact are you making? Who's behind you to help you foster this, to get this into place? Is it just you and two of your friends on the board?
Right.
What is it? Because it's like, to me, how are you going to make this to where it's not going to be a scandal?
Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
I hate to say it, I got another, well, not a close friend, but used to be a client of mine, now serving time in prison for embezzling of a nonprofit. And it's like,
oh my goodness.
I'm like, it blows my mind with this. It's like the Father gave you a responsibility and you mistreat that responsibility to benefit yourself. Yeah. What do you think is going to happen?
Right. This is the whole reason and purpose for the Kingdom Order and for a lot of the things that we do with Spirit of Truth Ministries and Remnant Global Institute, which you should go over to remnantgi.org and check out what we have going on over there, because this is definitely something that we teach against.
Yes.
So so you can't come to Remnant Global and say, oh, this is just a school, something they threw up real quick to try to get a quick buck. First of all, we're not even charging you that much. We ain't charging much. So you can't. Yeah, trust me. It's way
compared
below
to some
the
people, they
industry
charge way more than what we should be charging. But
right. It's way below the industry standard. Yeah. And so this is a lot of things that we want to bring back the authenticity of the culture of not church, but the culture of the kingdom. Like what we were initially supposed to do and be as people of Yah. So let's talk about righteous shepherds versus wolves.
Oh, man.
What was it saying in Ezekiel 34?
Ezekiel 34, it says, the Son of Man, prophesy against the shepherds of Israel. That's being the pastors, right? Look at that. The shepherds of Israel, prophesy and say to them, thus says the Lord of Yah to the shepherds. Woe to the shepherds of Israel who feed themselves. Who feed themselves. Should not the shepherds feed the flock?
Yeah.
Oh, that's big. A lot of people miss that. And he's talking directly to the pastors. This is the part that in Ezekiel 34 that really gets me. It's like, that's a stark warning. And it's like, if a lot of people would really read their word and really adhere to what it says,
absolutely,
this would be one of the main things of fear for you. I don't want to mistreat Yah's people.
Right.
I don't want to fleece them out of everything they got. You know, it's like I remember who I was listening to the other day, where they were talking about how a lot of the pastors, a lot of pastors are not trusted today in certain communities, because especially where you had impoverished kids. And I think even Glorilla's sister even mentioned this in her live stream. She talked about not getting money from her sister, but that's a different story. But she made a statement that came out that made me look at it like, wow, that's actually a real thing. When her sister said that the mama was giving all the money to the church and they were struggling to eat.
Wow.
And then you want to turn around and ask for $2,500. That's go back and watch that video. TMZ, it's crazy. But yeah, it's like you were giving all this money to the church.
My Lord.
But your kids were starving at home.
That ain't right.
So the right way of leadership as a shepherd is to tell your flock to take care of home first. That's
you definitely taking care of your home.
It's like what a man is supposed. A man is supposed to take care of his home first, right? As a preacher, as a pastor, as a deacon, you're supposed to take care of home first.
That's right.
Before you go take care of the church. But we've got this thing where we get in this role, we supposed to take care of the church. But then you neglect home. You wonder why divorce rate is so high, because you neglected home. You wonder why the kids don't respect you because you neglected home. There's a whole reason and order that's out of order now because we have made going and giving all this money to the church the priority all the time while we're starving at home.
Come on.
We're starving from the leadership of the house. We're starving from the financial responsibility so we can actually have food to eat on the table and stuff.
Yeah.
We're starving from these areas, and we don't see that there's a reason behind this.
Spiritually.
Yeah, spiritually. There's a reason behind this. It's because it starts with the shepherd.
That's right. That's right. So what we can take from Ezekiel 34:2 is leaders are called to feed and protect the sheep, not protect themselves or the system or the institution or the association organization, because you have different churches that will be affiliated and they'll be under this one umbrella of certain organizations.
Right.
Failing to confront sin among leaders is condemned as negligent, and it's not charity. It's definitely not charity. It's not love. It's not helping the people, even though you're giving them words or you're prophesying. In the long run, what are you really doing? If you're noticing, because to your point about giving all the money to the church and then you don't have anything, there are some pastors who have the smaller congregations who can actually see their people struggling and they don't do nothing about it, but they continue to ask for money. Right.
It's like that video we watched about Joel Osteen's church where that black guy was like, his wife was having a hard pregnancy and he was about to get evicted. He'd been volunteering at Lakewood for 10 years.
Viral.
Yeah, 10 years, and they did not help that young man. Volunteering that long in the ministry, that means you've been seen by several leaders at that point. But the moment you have a need, we got a lot of requests. Well, how many people that are actually volunteering and serving in impactful areas in your ministry are actually asking you for assistance? I could probably say it's not that many.
Right.
So to me, that would be a priority.
Right.
To help them, to make sure that, hey, I want to make sure you're well because you've been good to us. I want to make sure you're taken care of.
Right. But you're gonna give to the ministries in Africa and Israel.
But you can't take care of home. Just 7 cents a day.
Ridiculous. And that's
62 cents a day. Just $1.25 a day can help a starving kid somewhere else. But you can't take care of home.
Right.
It's like we could send all this money to Israel and all these other countries, but we can't deal with the homeless population that we have here. You can't even help the veterans. That's the problem with me.
Goodness, come on.
You can't help your own veterans that serve this country. And there's a problem. The church does the same thing too. As soon as they lose that job, they can't pay that tithe no more. They become a third priority.
Oh my goodness.
Fourth priority now.
That was a hard thing too when we saw it during the pandemic.
Yeah, it was. It was very hard.
People couldn't go into the church.
And you sitting mailing out letters, or you can still send your tithes in.
Yeah. Like what?
Pastor, you don't even have a camera. I can't even get your
losing
messages.
Their jobs left and right.
Yeah. But you still want that tithe money. As soon as the PPP checks came out, you can send your tithes in. Fleecing the people.
Absolutely. And we see here Yahushua's example in Matthew 23:13. It says, "But woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you shut up the kingdom of heaven against men. For you neither go in yourselves, nor do you allow those who are entering to go in."
Yeah.
So Yahushua openly confronted hypocrisy, sin, and leadership failures with direct words, not careful phrases or some kind of phrase that was actually a statement that was made for you to say. You want to be decent and in order with what you put out there, what you're projecting, but at the end of the day, to me, it looks like you're making it as though the church can do no wrong, or you can do no wrong, or you don't have any sin in you, or you've never, that's what it makes it look like when you don't, when you're not authentic in that regard, especially when we saw a few months ago, last year sometime, what happened with Marvin Sapp, and when he came out and was saying, I was just doing what I was told to do, and
I was told to raise it off.
I'm just like, come on, man.
Yeah, come on, we can't keep saying that stuff. But it's one of those things where, to me, it's like people just don't want to be convicted. Like they know it's wrong, right? But they've gotten so prideful and boastful in their flesh that they don't even feel conviction anymore. Because they don't even acknowledge that what you're saying is wrong. So to me, that's a dangerous area when you're saying something, you have no conviction about what you're saying. When even addressed by it, someone who says, I didn't really care for that, well, you need to get over it. Wow. There's no conviction there. There's a problem with that.
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of people are going to lose parishioners, is like, Keep going. Keep playing that route.
Or when you can't be questioned.
Yes, that's a big one. I'm the pastor.
When you can't be,
I'm the pastor.
Yeah, you can't be
can't question me.
Or even, anything that is called out. Because at the end of the day, if we were really about the kingdom, we would not have all of these different divisions amongst us, all these arguments and things that we're doing, because we would know that it's bigger than your church, my church, this church down the street. We would know that it's bigger than that, that it's outside of that scope. But we really are limiting the Father when you think about it. We limit him to just only, this is the way that we do things over here. This is our ministry, and this is what we expect. Versus, whatever your will is, whatever your will is for my life, and then being able to open up and go and work with these other ministries that are right around you. There are so many areas where there are like a church on every corner down the street, and it's ridiculous because the reason for the divisions is because we don't all agree. Right. On what the word says. We don't all agree on what the word says because we actually want to have liberty to do what we want to do while also quoting the scripture. Yeah, it's I mean, I've seen it many times in my life. I mean, living in Alabama where I went to church at, there was 3 churches right there on that corner. Like 3, like literally within 1 block. I mean, we lived like maybe a half a mile from the church, but there was 3 churches right there in that area, like in 1 city block. And it was always interesting to me. It's like, dang, you're like Ozark?
In Ozark.
Oh yeah, that's a small town too.
But still, even in a small town, predominantly black, in one side of town, why you have 3 churches in one area? It's just like, I never understood it, but it's like, but that was what it was. And I didn't expect when I got here to Texas that it was going to be like that here in Austin. Because it's like, where did Austin get all these churches? It was like, that's so-and-so's cousin that started a church over there.
And you
because
they had a fallout. That fits that they had a fallout, and you're going to find one that fits your need because the person that had the fallout that starts the church, their church is all about loving and caring and all this kind of stuff, but you ain't teaching anything else outside of that. And so
what makes you better than them? Because we primitive Baptists.
What the heck is a primitive Baptist church? We wash feet. We wash feet.
We wash feet. That's what I was told. Literally, that's exactly what I was told.
Your denominational damage, because y'all need to go watch
that. That whole series. Yeah.
Calling out sin is not unloving. Yeah. It's faithful. It's service.
To me, it's more loving to call it out because that means you recognize something about that's changing a person.
Come on.
That can help bring them back into correction. To me, that's a loving thing to do that.
It's like when somebody calls you their friend, but they knew that you had that booger hanging out your nose all day, and they just let it sit there. You went in front of all these people, and they ain't never said nothing about it. That's literally what I feel like. And then later on, I go look, and I'm like, what? Like what? You got something in your teeth, or something like that. Yep. So why does this matter? Justice versus preservation. We need to be able to invite people into these spaces where they do feel safe and they feel like we're not just going to try to save face because of our organization, our branding, and all of those things to further ourselves, but to actually care for the sheep. Justice requires truth and accountability. Soft language may sound diplomatic like the Pope did, but it avoids naming wrongdoing. Just like our good friend Brian Carn, who talks about,
actually a good friend, but our brother.
Well, he's not a good friend. Our brother Brian Carn, who says, "Oh, it's an accounting error." Justice is not served when sins are framed as accounting errors or process issues. When leadership avoids confronting sin, the vulnerable are left unprotected, and scandal hides instead of heals.
There you go.
And people, and this is a saying that has gone on for many, many years, and it shouldn't be a saying, but this is a saying that the church is the hospital, but the church is not a hospital, and it shouldn't be a hospital. But if you want to look at it like that, you're definitely not treating people so that they can be healed. You're actually causing more damage.
Right, you treating them like they ain't got no insurance.
I almost walked off this set. Sorry. Like they don't have no. That's exactly.
That's like how you treat. You treat the people like they ain't got no insurance. Well, you got your insurance card. I have to. Okay, you know what? You can go sit this out. Sit this out and go sit in the corner over there. Wait. I got 5 more forms for you. You give them stuff to occupy them.
Oh my goodness.
Then maybe they
while
get
while they bleeding, literally while
out.
they bleeding out.
Got a screwdriver stuck in your head.
Ooh,
And feel this out.
Yeah,
it's some wild stuff, man.
Give them my closing
Our
thought.
closing thought is charity that protects the predator is not mercy. It's misplaced compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Scripture calls us not to cover sin, but to confront it because truth liberates and justice heals.
Come on.
We need justice.
We need justice. And not that kind of justice that these people, the liberator people be doing.
Yeah, that's injustice.
Yeah. We definitely want to hear from you all. Let us know what you think about this. Type something in the comments. Give us a shout out in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely let us know how you feel about these instances where there's a lot of scandalous things that are happening within the modern day faith in the church, and it's being protected and covered up rather than it being called out by sin, which is what we're supposed to do as leaders. So let us know how you feel about it in the chat. Right. Yeah.
And also, while you're there in the chat, make sure you go ahead, like, share, and subscribe to Spirit of Truth Ministries. And make sure you share this with any of your friends and followers on the TKO podcast. You can catch us also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And again, if you want to get more in-depth teaching, let's say you can go further in your education, you can check us out at remnantgi.org. That's right, for Remnant Global Institute. And so that's going to be it for this episode. We will see you all again really soon. Have a good one. God bless.
Stronger in unity.